Bonnie, let me know when you're ready.
We'll do just one more minute.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we are ready.
Great. And trustees, if you haven't already, if you could turn your cameras on. So
Recording in progress.
I see that we have a quorum. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting, the regular meeting of the Board of Retirement to order. It's 9:11 a.m. Bonnie, if you could read the usual statements.
Thank you. This meeting is being held virtually and in person, so I will do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Trustee Harris and Knox will not be joining us today. Trustee Ginsburg? Here. Ms. Gray? I'll come back to you, Ms. Gray.
I'm here.
Great, thank you. Mr. Santos?
Present.
Mr. Sanchez?
Present.
Mr. Oakham?
Present.
Mr. Robbins?
Les,
Mr.
you're
Robbins?
muted.
Okay, I see you are present here. Ms. Greenwood?
I'm here.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Kehoe?
Present.
Mr. Bernstein?
I'm here.
Staff participating in the meeting include Chief Executive Officer Santos Kryman, Deputy CEO Louis Lugo, Assistant Executive Officer JJ Popovich, Chief Investments Officer John Grable, Chief Counsel Stephen Rice, Senior Staff Counsel Frank Boyd, Legislative Affairs Officer Barry Liu. Staff and managers participating today include Carly Natoya, Kathy Delino, Erin Wu, Cassandra Smith, Louis Gittins, Alan Cochran, Vincent Lim, Ricky Contreras, Tamara Caldwell, Vicky Neely, Carrie Wilson, Hernan Barrientos, and Ricardo Salinas. LACERA's medical advisor, Dr. Glenn Arisman, is also joining us today. Trustees, please use the raise your hand Zoom option to be placed in the queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute their mics until you are ready to speak. And now we may proceed with the agenda.
Thank you very much. Item 2 is ratification of officers. We have 2 items to vote on, but I believe Mr. Rice wanted to say something before we do the votes.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Bernstein and trustees. As a point of order before the first ratification item, the recent changes in board leadership have not affected the vice chair position, and therefore, notwithstanding the agenda, the motion on item 2A need only refer to the chair and the change in the selection of the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Then, in accordance with that, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to ratify Mr. Kehoe as chair as described in the board memo.
I move it.
I'll second it.
Moved by Santos, seconded by Oakham. Bonnie, roll call, please.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Mr. Oakham?
Yes.
Mr. Robbins?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
The next motion is actually, just as a point of technicality, Sean, I don't know if you need to vacate or presumptively vacate. May we presume that you have vacated the secretary position? So that
I believe that could be presumed.
Thank you. Then in that case, it is my pleasure to entertain a motion to elect Ms. Gray as our secretary for the remainder of 2022 in accordance with the board memo.
I'll second it.
I'll move it.
I heard Mr. Oakham second, but I didn't hear the motion maker.
I'll move it.
Okay, so Greenwood moved, Oakham seconded. Bonnie, roll call, please.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Mr. Oakham?
Yes.
Mr. Robbins?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Great. So 2 very quick things before I turn the meeting over. One is I have had the pleasure of working both Mr. Kehoe and Ms. Gray before in leadership. I'm really excited to work with them, but I do want to say how bittersweet it is to see Les step down, but how I think I can speak for all of us in saying how glad we are that you're here and that you are prioritizing your health and recovery. But I want to thank you for your service. Secondly, before I turn the meeting over to Chair Kehoe, Ms. Greenberg wanted to make a comment. Ms. Ginsburg, I'm sorry. Pardon me.
Thank you. I know there's a lot of greens here. So thank you so much. I'm really happy to see Trustee Robbins well. I wanted to make a comment related to this item of Board of Officers. I understand that Trustee Robbins vacated very, very early in the term due to unforeseen circumstances. And I spoke with Mr. Knox, and we're in agreement that it would be a fair request for the board to consider restoring Trustee Robbins's accumulated time on the chair seniority rotation list. This would be an
I'll move it.
As a point of order, it is not, we've discussed this and Mr. Rice can jump in if necessary. It's not an agendized item. Where we're going is that it will be put on the agenda for our next meeting. So it would be out of order to discuss it, but by all means, Ms. Ginsburg, finish your comments.
Definitely. I understand that this is something that needs to be agendized for a future meeting. So I would like to request staff to consider this for a future meeting.
So thank you. And without even commenting on it, I would just say that it would be out of order to discuss it further, but it is an line item for considered, and staff will be instructed to put it on the next agenda. With that, Mr. Sanchez.
Can she repeat that? Sorry, with the interruption, I did not fully hear everything.
If you don't mind my summarizing it, there will be an item on our next agenda to consider restoring Mr. Robbins's time on the priority list, which under the current policy would automatically have been waived or is automatically waived. And that will be, and it is not to be discussed right now per our counsel, but it will be on the next agenda. Does that clarify it for you? Great. Then it is my pleasure to turn the metaphoric gavel over to Chair Kehoe.
Thank you, Mr. Bernstein, and thank you everybody for the trust and allowing me to proceed with this. And you stole my thunder. That's exactly it. It's bittersweet, definitely, but very happy that Mr. Robbins is doing well and here today. So we'll move on to item 3, which is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 4th of 2023, and we will need a motion for that.
Move approval.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Mr. Oakham?
Yes.
Mr. Robbins?
Abstain.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. That brings us to item 4, which is our public comment period. Have we received any requests to speak?
We have not received any requests to speak today.
Perfect. Moving on to item 5, our executive update. We have our LACERA All-Stars.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This is the time of the month when we recognize our all-stars, staff members who have gone above and beyond in delivering an excellent member experience or helping their fellow staff members. As you can see them on the screen, so please join me in recognizing Stephen Rice, Eugenia Durr, Linda Alfara, Mara Lubertado. Our ride share winner was Regina Harris, and our web watcher was Valerie Calderon. Thank you very much for all that you do, everybody.
Great stuff. Perfect. Congratulations. Moving on to our CEO's report.
Yes, Chair Kehoe, congratulations on becoming the chair. I look forward to working with you and Vice Chair Bernstein and Secretary Gray moving forward. Just some brief comments on the Chief Executive Officer's report. I provided you with a written summation of a lot of the activities that have gone on over the last month. Wanted to let you know that our strategic plan meeting is scheduled, or board offsite meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 22nd, February 23rd. I believe that we have confirmed the venue. Is that right, Bonnie?
Yes,
So Pasadena Hilton.
correct.
It will be held at the Pasadena Hilton. So we're making all of the necessary arrangements. I know that staff is preparing all of the PowerPoint slides and the making sure that all the panels are in place, and making sure that we have a very productive board offsite meeting. It will be a joint meeting so that the Board of Investment Trustees can also participate in the meeting. I did want to mention that that we are in the middle of our March Madness. Our call centers are very, very busy, both on the retiree healthcare side as well as the member services side. We have opened up additional meetings, or I'm sorry, additional appointments for our members to have virtual counseling sessions as well as in-person counseling sessions. I'm happy to say that our staff have stepped up to the plate, and they've opened up virtual meetings for Saturday mornings and afternoons as well, in order to accommodate our members' needs to be counseled as part of their retirement benefits and their retiree health care. So thank you for staff for doing that. I did want to also mention that in terms of recruitment, we're in the process of recruiting, as you know, the Deputy Chief Investment Officer position. We have over 200 applications that we're going through. So it was a very, very successful in terms of recruitment. The outside recruiter right now is vetting all of the questionnaires and answers and making arrangements to pare down the number of candidates that Mr. Grable will have to meet with and talk in order to make a selection. I know that Mr. Grable and I still need to talk about who will be part of the panel interview in order to make that selection. The positions for the Chief Technology Officer position, we also have an outside recruiter on that. I believe last I heard or I read, there were about 60 to 70 applications that have come through. Questionnaires have been given out to those that are that meet a specific standard. The consultant is also in the process of vetting those particular positions. The Information Security Officer position is also out with an outside recruiter. I believe there are about, I think it was 30 to 40 applications that have been received. I believe that that particular outreach or recruitment has been closed as of September. I'm sorry, not September, but January 27th. Sorry. I lack of sleep here. And so we're moving forward. Our intention is to make sure that we get the IT positions at the higher levels in place so that we can begin our recruitment of the lower level staff. I wanted to make sure that the individual that does take over in those particular areas has benefit of input in the selection of their staff moving forward. And so I know that Carly and her team are in the process of going through and trying to update the specifications and desirable qualifications for those lower level IT staff, but we should be moving forward very, very quickly on that. There are retirement benefit specialist positions. I believe that we're going to have a class of 14 to, I think it's 14 positions that will probably start sometime in May, and I'm sorry, in April. And so that will be a welcome relief in terms of making sure that our call center is fully staffed and we're able to provide the services that our members deserve. So I did want to highlight the fact that we did make one change to our webpage, LACERA.com, in order to make it easier for our members and for the public to follow along our meetings, we have a specific tile now that that takes them directly to our board meetings, takes them to all of the videos for past meetings, the archives, and allows our members to follow along and not have to hunt and peck to try to figure out where the agenda is and where our meeting videos are. And so with that, be more than happy to stand for questions.
Thank you. And Mr. Prime, I just want to say thank you for jumping on the call center issues. As you know, I was getting a number of complaints from people that were planning for March Madness, and you and your staff quickly stepped in to resolve that and open up some windows, and all of those complaints have gone away. So I appreciate that, and I recognize the hard work that everybody does over there, especially in our current situation with a lot more remote stuff going on. Open this up for questions and comments from anyone on the board. I'm seeing none, so that will bring us on to item 6, our disability retirement application on our consent calendar. And the first item that we will vote on is going to be our safety SCDs. That's going to be page 1 and 2, applications number 890D through 908D. I will make the motion and I'll ask for a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded, and we can proceed with vote.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Oakham,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe,
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. That brings us to our safety SCD, our fire and lifeguards, applications 1566B through 1575B.
I'd like to make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and it's seconded. Please vote.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Oakham,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. That brings us to our general members, SCD page 4. That's going to be applications 2490C through 2498C.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Let's
Ms.
go.
Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Oakham,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. And that brings us to our final open item session on the disability retirements, which is our general members and SCD page 5. And that's going to be for application 4418.
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Please vote.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Oakham,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Green, I'll come back to you, Mr. Green. Mr. Bernstein,
Aye.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
thank you. The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. That brings us to our consent items. I'm going to ask that we pull item A for discussion. So I'll need a motion unless anybody else would like to pull any additional items for item B, C, and D.
I'll move items B through D.
It's been moved. I'll need a second.
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 Moved and seconded. Let's please vote.
One moment. Who was the second?
As
I
Mr.
was.
Sanchez.
Mr. Sanchez, perfect. Thank you. Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Ms. Gray?
Yes.
Mr.
Excuse me.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez?
Yes.
Mr. Oakham?
Yes.
Mr. Robbins?
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Great, thank you. That brings us to item 8, our excluded consent items. I asked for item A to be pulled just so we can get an update from staff regarding the governor's order and how that impacts us and where we are on that, because I don't believe we've gotten an update.
Good morning, Chair Keough and trustees. There's no specific update from the governor's office on this. The state websites continue to reflect, consistent with the governor's press release last fall, that the COVID orders will terminate at the end of February. As most of you are probably aware, President Biden has stated the federal orders will terminate in May. That I don't know whether that will influence Governor Newsom. It's possible that it might, but as of now, we're operating under the assumption, and again, state websites haven't changed on this point, that the orders will end at the end of February.
And then wasn't there either a requirement or an indication that they were going to give at least a 30-day notice on that?
Yes, there have been statements throughout COVID that there would be notice given, and time periods were mentioned from time to time. I believe that the intention was that the press release in last September or October was the notice to give agencies and other interested stakeholders a chance to prepare for the end of the emergency. But it may well be that at this point in time, when the final executive order comes down, and we're assuming there will be one terminating the orders, that there will be some additional period of time built into that, so that there is that additional time once the announcement has been formalized. But as of now, as stated, we really don't know what additional action the governor is going to take.
And barring a actual executive order, the emergency order stays in effect, correct?
This is the assumption. There are executive orders that remain in place, and the press release stated that they would be terminated, but that's not the formal action that would be required to terminate them. So, and including the original March 2020 state of emergency. So I believe, Chair Keough, that you're correct, that there would be a formal executive order issued in order to terminate the state of emergency and the remaining executive orders.
Got it. So so that everybody here on the board, so we are all on the same page. My understanding is the board offsite, although we encourage and want everybody to be present during the board offsite, it will fall within this state of emergency. So we could technically allow teleconferencing, although once again, encouraging everybody to show up to that. And then as far as our March board meeting, we're just going to have to go with the flow and notify trustees on where we stand with that, if it is still within the policy or not. And based on this item, if we pass the teleconference policy, then that would be in effect for March, if in fact March they did not rescind the emergency order. Is that
yes, Chair Keough and trustees, if the item A is passed and approved, then that order would be that decision would be in effect for the next 30 days, and we would be able to it would apply to the offsite, certainly, and it would apply for 30 days from today. And if the orders remain in effect, this item would again appear on the March agenda, and that would remain an option for the board to take in terms of having teleconference meetings. We're also prepared, depending on, well, I guess the consent item is passed, but we're also prepared now for AB 2449 teleconferencing as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Bernstein.
So maybe only me, maybe others. I am really confused at this point, and I find that it feels like the goalposts keep shifting. So my request would be if staff could be fairly proactive about informing us about what our obligations and responsibilities are. In particular, if we actually have to be in Pasadena, it's all a bit of a blur to me at this point, and it does feel like the attempt to sort of clarify the emergence from the emergency has not actually gone very smoothly. I just would love staff to keep us literally informed on what we have to do in order to be compliant.
Chair Keough, Trustee Bernstein, legal office is monitoring pretty much in real time what's happening in Sacramento, as well as the national scene, although we care about Sacramento really first and foremost. And we will be in communication in the legal office with the executive board assistants and with the CEO and the rest of the executive office, so that communication that you're describing will take place.
I think the best way to describe it is nothing changes as of today until we hear from staff that something changes. So we're continuing on as we have in the past until we hear from staff that the order's been rescinded, and therefore we're required to follow the new teleconference policy, which has more limitations and restrictions.
So that being said, I'll move 7A.
Perfect. So 8A, I guess now.
Second.
Whatever it should be called. Yes.
Perfect. The excluded consent item 8. And any further questions or discussions? Seeing none, let's go ahead and please vote. Actually, did we get a second on that? I'm sorry.
We did. Mr. Santos,
Thank you.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Agreed. Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Oakham,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
Aye.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Great. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to item 9, our non-consent items. Our first item A is the LACERA 23 election of the 2nd and 8 members of the alternate retired members. We have our statement of powers and duties statement. You have a memo dated January 23rd, 2023. I'll first open it up to any questions or comments from anybody. Seeing none, let's go ahead and accept the motion to adopt.
Move it.
I'll second.
It's moved and second. Let's please vote.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Oakham,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. That brings us to item B, which is our legal recruiting services. We have a recommendation from staff to approve a request for quotation and the estimated recruitment costs of approximately $309,000. We have a memo dated January 18th of 23. Do we have any
I'll move
questions?
the item.
Second.
And second, let's please vote.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Oakham,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you. That brings us to item C, our retirement election submission policy. We have a policy that's dated, memo that's dated January 20th of 23. Do we have any questions from any members of the board?
I move.
I'll second.
second.
And second, let's please vote.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes, I thought there was going to be a presentation, but I'm fine with it.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Mr. Oakham,
Yes.
Mr. Robbins,
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Motion passes. And before we move on to the next item, Ms. Gray, would you like staff to address any comments or concerns about the item that was passed?
No, it's pretty much explained in the memo and the attached, I guess there's slides, I'm not sure, but it's pretty well explained.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, that brings us to item D, our cost of living adjustment, which is effective April 1st of 23. We have a recommendation in front of us, a memo dated January 24th of 23. Does any trustees have any questions or request any presentations from staff on this item?
Yeah, I have one question, if I may.
Mr. Oakham, if you can please stand by. It sounds like we got Mr. Santos in queue, and then I'll grab you right.
Sure.
Mr. Santos.
I'm on the phone, so
Yeah, no, understood.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Kehoe. So the way I read this memo is that anyone who retires March 31st of this year will be entitled to the 4.5% COLA increase.
Good morning, Chair Kehoe, and good morning, Trustee Santos. That's not exactly correct. So what's happening is all retirees are eligible for the plan maximums. So for the LACERA Plan A, that would be 3%. And for all the other plans, that would be 2%. Those are the plan maximums per the statute. The confusing part is that the COLA, the CPI is above the plan maximums. So because the CPI is 4.9, that remaining balance, for example, Plan A, the difference between 3.0, the plan maximum, and the 4.9 CPI, that amount will go to the COLA bank. So that's kind of the confusing part. But the first step is the COLA determination. So that's the plan maximums for all plans, and then the award to the COLA bank. Is that it?
I see. So I understand this correctly. Is that those that retired March of this year will get a 2% in Plan D, a 2% COLA increase. And then the balance to get up to 4.9, that would go to the bank for future use. Is that?
That is exactly correct. Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Oakham.
yeah, that's you answered the question. That's what I thought it was. But are we rounding that to 5? Is that round from 4.9 to 5, or does it stay at 4.9?
That round.
Good morning, Mr. Oakham. Yes. So again, another confusing part of this process. So in this instance, because the CPI is above the maximums, we must still go through the process where we do perform the rounding. So the official quote LACERA COLA award is 5%. However, that doesn't impact this particular COLA award to the retirees because we've exceeded the maximums. We can only award 3% to Plan A, 2% to all other plans. So when we go back and look at the COLA bank, we have to go back to the CPI number, which is 4.9, and add that difference to the COLA banks. Just by way of hopefully clarification, when the when the CPI is below the plan maximums, it's a little bit more clear. So let's say, for example, the CPI was 1.76%. That would be rounded to 2.0, and then the COLA award would be 2.0. So the retirees would benefit in that instance that I just described, where the CPI is below the maximums. Today, in this example, if your board approves it, it's above, so the COLA award rounding is nebulous. It doesn't impact the award. I hope that made sense.
So there's a fractional there's a fractional COLA bank. Is that what we're saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
be the 1.9 for Plan A and the 2.9 for all the other plans. Those are the amounts added to the COLA banks,
I learned something new every board meeting.
right?
Just for clarification, Ted, if I may, Sean,
Yes,
if the CPI is under the 3 or the 2, okay, then you use the bank to bring them up to the 3 or the 2, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Mr. Robbins.
Yeah, just so I understand this, Ted, what you're telling us is that the rounding only comes into play if it is used to take you up to the statutory max of 3 or 2. It does not come into play when we're calculating COLA bank stuff. Is that correct?
Yes, but okay, so let me clarify it a little bit more. No, generally you're correct, but let's be precise here. So not in the scenario we have today, but in a hypothetical scenario. Let me use a different example. Let's say the CPI is 1.46, right? It's just below the 1.5. The COLA award per LACERA would be rounded from 1.46 to 1.5. In that scenario, we would then look at the COLA banks because we're still below the 2% and the 3% respectively, right? So COLA award is 1.5, we round it up. Then we would go to the COLA banks and see if we can add to that 1.5 to get us to the 2.0 maximum. So in that scenario, those are the steps we would take. We would first take the CPI at 1 point, whatever I said, for something, round it up. Then we would look at the COLA bank to get to the plan maximums. I hope that helped. But again, that's not the scenario this time. So I was trying to not have to confuse folks with that information.
Understood. Additional questions from anyone on the board?
I'll move this one, Sean.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Ms. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Santos,
Yes.
Mr. Sanchez,
Yes.
Oakham,
Yes,
Mr. Robbins,
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously by all trustees present.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. That brings us on to item 10, our reports. Our first item is A, our 2023 general member, retired alternate trustee election updates. We have a presentation by Mr. Popovich.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And we just wanted to provide everybody with an update and some, we think, exciting and positive news. So the 2023 elections is for the general member seats, the second seat, the eighth seat on the Board of Retirement, and the alternate seat. And then on the Board of Investments, the second and eighth seats as well. Over the last couple of years, we have been coordinating tightly with the Executive Office of the Board of Supervisors, who is responsible for conducting these elections along with the Register Recorder. And that coordination has been coordinating communication to make sure that we educate members about the board elections and encourage their turnout. Over the last couple of years, the elections have been done electronically, and typically this means that the membership has received electronic notifications and have been given the option to vote electronically or to request a ballot. And and that has shown some increased voter turnout in terms of active member elections, but we've always held the belief that everybody should get a ballot in the mail, because that's consistent with how general elections are done, both at the state and the local level, and that fosters fosters turnout at a greater extent, because there are some people who just feel comfortable doing things electronically. So we've worked with the Executive Office, and thanks to our cooperation and our working together, we have secured an agreement that for this 2023 election, all retired members will receive a physical ballot. They'll have the option of either returning the physical ballot or to use the electronic means of voting at their discretion. And active members will continue to have the electronic notification. We're very grateful for the executive office for working with us on this. This was something that we've been talking about consistently. They actually recommended this as an option after we shared our experiences with our recent membership survey. That survey, we got a tremendous response. And for our retired members, the response was more physical in nature. They actually mailed back the survey than taking advantage of the electronic version of it. So that was a key point in helping the executive office come to this conclusion. So we're very pleased, and we look forward to a very successful 2023 election. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. I'll open it up for any questions. Well, JJ, I appreciate the presentation. Mr. Robbins.
Yeah, no question, just a comment. I want to thank Mr. Kryman and staff for getting this issue solved. It's a good thing. So thank you, and thank you.
Mr. Kryman.
Yes, Chair Kehoe, I just wanted to let you know that our discussions with the executive office are still ongoing. I know that we had some lessons learned in terms of the electronic voting. And so there was some issues with emails going to the wrong boxes and so on and so forth. And so we're still in the process of making sure that the vendor makes sure that has the proper whitelist of our members when they do active members, as well as the retired members, that they have the right email addresses, and the ballots are actually going to the right email boxes. So there's a couple of other items that we're working on as well. So we're going to resolve all that prior to the election in August.
Thank you. And I appreciate staff's effort on. I agree with Mr. Robbins' comments, especially when it comes to retirees. And there's still more things that need to be worked out. And I appreciate staff working on that. Any additional questions? Seeing none, we have reports B through E. All of those were informational only items. Do we have any requests from any trustees to pull any of those items for discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item 11, which is our items for staff review. We did not have any specifically. It's actually a part of 12. So unless there's objection, we'll move to item 12, which is our items for future agendas, where we do have an item placed for that. And Bonnie, can you just clarify that for everybody?
Sure, yes. So just to reiterate, Trustee Ginsburg did request that we consider Trustee Robbins' reinstatement of his seniority on the list for board officers position. And the last item that I do have is Trustee Bernstein requested that AB 2449 and trustee requirements for compliance be monitored and communicated when changes are made.
Mr. Kehoe?
Great, Mr. Santos.
Can I make a comment on this item? I think that perhaps as part of that future item to be on the agenda, that we should include also Mr. Kehoe's, so that way if Mr. Kehoe is not able to serve as the chair for the full year, that he will be allowed to or remain on the list, since this is not pursuant to the current policy that we have. And I'm not sure if I'm being clear on that, but the bottom line is that I wanted, since Mr. Kehoe is stepping up, that he be also recognized, just like Mr. Robbins, if Mr. Robbins does regain the chairmanship position.
Well, I appreciate that.
Chair,
go ahead.
sorry, Chair Kehoe, can we make one additional amendment to that particular item, that we also include the reinstatement of your seniority as a secretary on the secretary's seniority list as well?
Yeah, I believe, was that Mr. Santos, was that what you were referring to?
Yes, both as the secretary as well as the chairmanship.
Right.
We don't want you to lose your seniority rights because you're stepping up due to a medical illness.
I appreciate that. Okay, any additional comments on the items for future agenda? Seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to our good of the order. And let's go ahead and go around the table, Bonnie.
Great, Ms. Gray.
Thank you. Once again, I know I mentioned it earlier. Les, it is good to see you back. My prayers are answered. I know you may not be out of the woods with your recovery, but just stick to it. And I want you here. And the other thing is, Sean, thank you so much for stepping up. I think you're the perfect person to fulfill this position, and we can move on with what we plan to do for the next year for LACERA. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Santos.
Yes, thank you. I am also very happy to see Mr. Robbins back in action again. I had all confidence that you will make it through as you did, and I'm very happy that you're back and can't wait to see you in person again. So congratulations, Mr. Robbins. Also, congratulations to Mr. Kehoe for stepping up to become the chair. I attended the legislative conference, CPERS legislative conference last week. It was very empowering to walk the halls of power. What was really interesting that I had to, every meeting that I attended, I had to make sure that I tell everyone that I was not related to George Santos. But I did go to Baruch, and I wanted to get a copy of my diploma to have it in my back pocket to prove that I went to Baruch, which happens to be one of the best business schools in New York City. So it was quite interesting, also very empowering to be in Congress, educating everyone. That report, the economic report that we did, that we submitted to the different legislators, is very powerful. They were really impressed and appreciated that information. So we need to keep our friends in Congress educated with regards to what we stand for and how well we have done over the years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Sanchez.
I'll just echo my colleagues' comments. Congratulations, Mr. Kehoe, and welcome back, Mr. Robbins. Thank you, everyone, and always just thank you to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Oakham.
Yeah, I, living here in San Marino and teaching years ago in Alhambra, I would just like to give a shout out to the young man, Cy, who took that weapon away from the shooter at the Alhambra dance hall. I mean, when it hits this close to home, I don't know the young man. He graduated in 2015 from San Marino High School. And, but boy, it was quite a feat, to make sure that this individual could not do any more damage. We're very proud of him in San Marino, and it's unfortunate what occurred in Monterey Park with 11 people dying, and hopefully this will discontinue itself and not happen anymore in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Ginsburg.
I'd like to echo everybody's comments. Congratulations, Mr. Kehoe, and welcome back, Mr. Robbins. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Robbins? Ms. Greenwood?
It's always tough to come at the end because everybody has said everything so eloquently by this point. This is my first Board of Retirement meeting, so it is quite a thrill to work with everybody. Many of you, again, who I had worked with on the Board of Investments. And Les, I'm so glad that you are back and healthy. And Sean, congratulations on being chair again. You run an outstanding and efficient meeting, and we are all grateful for that. And staff, thank you very, very much for making sure that we do the best job we possibly can when we're here, which couldn't be done without you. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great February.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Mr. Green.
Yeah, thank you. Going off what Herman said about the NC PERS conference, it was a great experience. We met with, roughly 6 members of Congress or their staff. We did meet with Linda Sanchez personally, and we met with both senators. And it was a really eye-opening. There's quite a bit at the federal level that potentially could impact us moving forward in the future. Both, stuff that's been passed over but could come around. We weren't able to meet with everybody personally, just their staff, because they did have their first session. But for the most part, at the federal level, everybody's in support of what we were trying to present. The two, Barry did a great job in setting everything up. And the 2 lobbyists that we had, Tony and Shane, they really knew their stuff, and were able to segue some of our public pension issues with the staff. So that was good. The other thing was out of the second day of the NC PERS, they had a communications, and I didn't know if this would fit in something on a future agenda, but just looking at contacting people. CalPERS had shifted to primarily email. They have over 1 million emails that go out, and they were putting out glossy publications about 3 times a year, between $1 and $1.4 million. And they switched to an email system, and were able to capture more folks, and with a significant savings. They couldn't identify what the savings was because it went into the general fund. But I thought that was quite interesting, and maybe something the board could look at into the future as far as better outreach to our active and retired members. So that's it. I appreciate the experience with it, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Bernstein.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who went on our behalf to lobby in DC. I had hoped to be there, and then our recent weather interfered by making my day job much more substantial. But I really appreciate people taking time to go and lobby and meet leadership there on our behalf. I want to welcome Liz to the Board of Retirement. I had the pleasure of also serving with her on the Board of Investments, and she is a dedicated and very smart trustee, and she'll make a great addition. I'm glad you're here. And finally, I just want to say that while obviously our mission is to produce, provide, and protect the promised benefit, how we do it is through effective leadership and staffing. And it's really a pleasure, given what, fortunately, because Les is on the mend, is sort of more of an academic experience, how well we've handled a transition, and how collegial and supportive and pleasant it's been. And for those of us who've been here a while, our transitions have not always been this pleasant, and it's really nice to see us able to focus on what we should be focused on, which is our mission of serving our members. And I'm really excited about that. So thank you.
Santos Kryman.
Yes, I just wanted to express, the fact that Les is on the mend. It was, I've been texting him and emailing him, making sure that everything is going well for him. And so I'm glad to see that he made this particular meeting. So I also wanted to thank Vice Chair Bernstein for stepping in and conducting the meeting in January, and helping us with the transition in February as well. So I appreciate your input in terms of the development of the agenda and how you handled the meetings. It was very refreshing, quite frankly. It was very smooth. Chair Kehoe, I look forward to working with you and Vice Chair Bernstein and Secretary Gray. I know that we have a lot to do. Strategic plan is an incredibly important part of what we're going to do and how we're going to recreate and rebuild LACERA well into the future, so that we make sure that we leave this place a lot better for our successors, quite frankly. And so I do want to recognize my staff for all of their hard work. I want to recognize Mr. Grable as well and his investment team. They're doing a spectacular job, quite frankly, of making sure that we're safeguarding and investing our funds the appropriate way. And so with that, I just want to thank the trustees for all of their support and their future support. Quite frankly, I think the meetings have been very well received. And I know that staff appreciates everything that the trustees are doing on behalf of our members. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, and Chair Kehoe.
Thank you. I'm incredibly humbled by all the comments, and I will do my absolute best to make sure that we have a smooth meeting and that everybody's voice is heard on the board and from the greater community. And I will be looking forward to getting a check with Miss Gray's signature on there. So I'm gonna have to make sure that I get like buy some pencils and get a reimbursement. I'll keep that check as a souvenir. So thank you, Miss Gray, for stepping up as well, and for everybody. Regarding Mr. Green's comments during the good of the order, perhaps we can ask for a presentation at the OOC regarding the what LACERA is doing for electronic communication versus hard communication and stuff. So if we could agendize that for a presentation and possible discussion. And that then moves us to our next item, which is item 14, or disability retirement cases to be held in closed session. Before we proceed with that, I'll ask if anybody from the board would like a short break. We've been going for an hour, or if we can just power through.
A break would be great.
Okay, let's do a 10
Hey,
minute.
Sean.
Yes.
Hey, Sean.
Yes, Mr. Robbins.
I'm sorry, I got called away by a phone call. I mean, I'm assuming we just finished good of the order.
Yep, it's we'll give it over to you before we go on break.
Yeah, let me say a couple of things. Number one, I'm very much thankful that we were able to work out somebody else to take the handle on this. I did not realize before I had the surgery that the recovery and the rehab was going to be as involved and as lengthy as it is. I guess I just underestimated it and thought I'll bounce back from this like I did all my other knee and shoulder and ankle surgeries, but this is a little bit more involved than all of that stuff was. And I'm in cardio rehab like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 2 to 3, and that's time consuming right there. I got a ton of emails, I mean hundreds of emails from active and retired people who knew about my surgery. Vivian wrote me one of the nicest emails that anybody sent me, you know, wishing me good luck. So I never doubted that I was going to survive this thing, but the first 2 weeks were pretty rough. The week in the hospital sucked. And I mean, anybody who spent a week in the hospital knows that you don't get any rest, and you just want to get out of there because number one, they got you wired for everything imaginable. The food's not bad, except it tastes bad because they don't season anything. And when I got home, to make matters worse, I had zero appetite, and I mean zero appetite for about 10 days. So, but I can tell everybody that I'm feeling a lot better. I had a echocardiogram yesterday. That was the call I just got with some results from it, and everything I think looks pretty good. And it's just basically I have have good days and I have days that aren't quite as good. But I'm getting stronger and I can go out and walk. I'm walking around the block 4 or 5 times a day. So it's just a matter of getting the strength back, learning how to sleep on my back because I'm not a back sleeper. So, and the only real pain and discomfort I'm in is where they did the incision down the middle of your chest. It just takes a while for all those bones to fuse back together again. So coughing and sneezing is not something that you want to do because it hurts. So other than that, I just want to thank everybody for the prayers, the good thoughts. I'm going to be fine, not going anywhere, and onward and upward for LACERA and for me. So that's it, Sean.
Great. Thank you, everybody. And it is 10:11, so let's plan for a 10:20. We'll start back at 10:20. Gives everybody a 9-minute break.
Recording stopped.